Hold on. Before we get too deep into it, hold on, because I do want to officially start, so that way you know.
Oh.
But because you about to repeat this,
Yeah,
and
sure.
I know it, but I want them to know.
I thought maybe you had already.
No, I have, but I'm
okay,
like, hold
okay,
on, we
okay.
gotta let them know who
Yeah,
you
yeah.
are. All right. So, obviously, All or Nothing, episode 2. I know you. I have the privilege of knowing you before the camera does. I'll let you introduce yourself to the camera.
What's going on? My name is Brian Cartier, artist, and yeah, that's me. I'm here every morning. You might see me. I normally don't say much. I just kind of do my thing and get to work. But I'm happy to be sitting here doing this.
Yeah.
I love the work you're doing, as I was saying, man.
Thank you,
like
man.
mad props and mad encouragement.
Yeah.
You know.
So back to that conversation of being an artist. I guess the first initial question that I ask you, and I ask myself, is like, at what point can you claim that identity? Like, is there a moment for you personally where you're like, you know what, yeah, I am? Or was it always something in the back of your mind that you said, like, I am? You just didn't really tell everyone yet?
Well, I mean, first it's a decision you make within yourself.
Yeah.
And you maybe haven't told anybody yet that this is who I am, this is what I want to be. But I guess at a certain stage too, like I guess for me, like I was drawing pictures when I was a kid. People were calling me an artist, like, and even though I didn't necessarily consider myself one, I just liked to draw, you know. And then when I made the decision, like I think it was imposter syndrome more than anything. It just made me feel like I couldn't just decide to claim that I was an artist. Like
Yeah.
people go to school, people look at all these people that do such amazing work. Like I can't just decide that I'm one of them. So for me, like a lot of it, honestly, for me was the validation of my older brother, because he was like the one that made me want to be an artist in the first place. And he kind of put in perspective for me at once, like when he was getting frustrated with me, like looking for his validation on like something I was working on, you know. But at a certain point, I guess when you just make the decision, I guess the trick is to have actually done something,
Yeah.
right? Which you've done, right? You can't just say you're an artist or want to be an artist. Like you can know all about art, you can know all about cameras, you can have the camera, but if you're not using the camera,
Yeah.
you're not doing anything with it, right? So it's like once you've done something, maybe you feel a little bit more comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
But like a concept I used to relate to a lot, which you can also probably relate to, just anybody creative, anybody even working out, like just like you have to get through like a large volume of work before you start to close the gap between what you know is good and what you're doing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Because like a lot of times we want to create because we have good taste and we see nice things and we think we know the difference, right? And then we start creating and we're like, fuck, this sucks, this isn't what I wanted
Yeah,
to create.
yeah, it's not
right?
exactly
Yeah,
there.
yeah, this isn't good, this isn't there, right? And the problem is too many people stop creating,
Yeah.
right? When in actuality, like if it's something you really want to do, you feel called to do, you've got to double down on it,
Yeah.
right? And eventually you start to close that gap and you start to see your work getting better. And then maybe it's at that point, you know,
Yeah.
when you start to learn how to let yourself work.
Do you think that your bandwidth of taste changed drastically? And I know your taste. I know you have exquisite taste. Do you think it changed because you dabble into different arts, or you're curious about different arts?
I think I've just had a lot of different influences.
Yeah.
And I explored a lot of different interests. So like sneakers, I mean, for me, a lot of it has to do with things from the past, as funny as it sounds. Like working out even, you know, and like my taste in sneakers, for one, like they might not be sneakers that everybody knows, but that's kind of how nice they are. Right?
Yeah.
So, but like a lot of that comes from, you know, being, you know, teased and bullied as a kid for being fat, for being poor and not having specifically nice shoes. Like I used to get just like it was just crazy. I don't know how much I cared about it. And I think it was because I cared and
Yeah.
because I tried, I got made fun of more.
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Right? So like,
You didn't get the Jordans, but you got the like and one shoes.
yeah,
and
right,
shit.
or whatever. They weren't even and ones yet. I think we found a pair of I'm aging myself here, but we found a pair of like Xavier McDaniels at like some like box store or something like that. They didn't even fit me, but they were the closest thing to cool that I could have
Yeah.
ever gotten. And so I insisted my mom buy them. and I'm wearing these shoes like a size too big and made fun of for it. So like because I tried to fit in harder, I
Yeah.
got made fun of more.
Yeah.
Right. So like
Ultimately made you fit in your own space, right?
yeah, I think so. But like, I just had to like learn to become cool with myself. But
Yeah.
ultimately, like for me, like now as an adult, like I was teased for being fat. I was teased for having shitty shoes.
now?
You know what I mean? Like I got the nicest shoes you'll ever see in
Yeah.
the gym every single day. Like I might
That's
not be what I want
crazy.
anymore, but this is a huge part of my life. And
Yeah.
you know, I've been able to make big changes there. It's I guess the point I'm making is that so many of us are still like a version of who we were.
Yeah. I
kids.
think it's like the common quote is money doesn't change you, it just amplifies, right?
Yeah, right.
And I guess my next question or curiosity is like, when you stepped into that world where you finally just, not aside from just like luxury, right? Just understanding, wow, I can get everything the little kid in me desires now. How did that impact your life, and when did you realize that?
What's as crazy as it is, like the first time I really felt like that, as just from being homeless and like living in my studio and like going through as many like really rough times as I did, like the first time it really clicked is when I realized that I was pulling up to the gas station and not even like thinking about what it cost to fill the tank, and
Yeah.
just filling it.
You know, he spoke to me in volumes. I'm like being out on a
seriously.
date and checking your like bank
Right,
account.
right,
Is there
right.
things you
and
just
it's like just being able to go to the grocery store, go out to eat, and not look at how much it's going to cost
Yeah.
and check to see what I can afford,
Yeah.
and let that decide what I'm going to order. You know, it's a powerful thing.
yeah.
But like as far as like, yeah. So I've as much as I like nice things, and really appreciate really nice things, like I'm really trying to separate myself from my things.
Yeah.
Right? Like everything you have is a thing you manage, and it's kind of funny because as you start to kind of build a little bit, like you start to buy some things that kind of scratch those itches,
Yeah.
right? And once you scratch those itches, you realize that it was just not something that was really going to enrich your life. I mean, I still love nice things and I want to have certain things, but there has to be a deeper meaning to the thing than just it being a nice thing.
Yeah. So you mentioned the idea of, and you wouldn't have to dabble too much into it, but you were homeless, and that changed a lot. Like you and I have spoken a lot about it, and that seems like the core of a lot of things that changed for you as an artist, as the person you are. Bring us into that moment. Maybe not the why or the how, but how much that impacted the person you are today, and how often do you even like remember, or how often do you take yourself back to those moments where you were homeless and versus now?
I mean, well, for one, like it'd be a whole lot harder to make those decisions now with a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old,
Yeah.
and a mortgage and those kinds of things. But like at the time, like things weren't working out the way that I wanted to in any job I had had anyway, and I really just felt like every job I had was just like wanted more and more of my time,
Yeah.
or my soul, right? And didn't want to compensate me for it. And so finally, at a certain point, I just like something kind of clicked in me, and I kind of made the decision. I think I was in my like early 30s, late 20s, early 30s, and I'm like, I got to do this shit now, and literally just kind of jumped in with both feet, and I rented a commercial space that I got super cheap, and ended up making that into an art studio. And because I did that, which wouldn't have happened otherwise, because I did that, I ended up like out of the woodwork came a couple people who were willing to invest in some things, and I ended up opening a store with an art studio on the back of it. And it just, what I've found is that when you make a decision and you take an action,
Yeah.
right, then there's a consequence of that action, right, that can be something different than if you had made no action,
Yeah.
right? So like just by making an action towards something, you're going to start a chain of events, right, that are going to kind of bring you towards something. So I didn't know it was going to bring me through homelessness and all kinds of crazy shit. But I lived in my art studio for probably like 2 years total, until I eventually lost that, right? But I guess what it all eventually taught me, what it was that at a certain point I made the decision to just commit, right, and submit to it. And as things were getting worse, I had to convince myself that like, hey, like if I'm still alive, I'm gonna make sure it's a hell of a story, right? So like I just put my head down and moved forward, you know, because essentially it's the only way to get to the other side of anything is just to kind of put your head down and work,
Yeah.
right?
I saw a couple of weeks ago, if not last week, you posted on Instagram looking at, I guess, footage outside of your house and like spending time with your kids and your wife, and ultimately the idea of, you know, like just the emotion of being in love and being carefree. And maybe there was a moment in your life where you were a lot more vigilant, and now you're just staring at yourself on the screen, realizing that you're just a lot more content and a lot more like free spirited. Like how does that feel when you look at, like, people don't get a lot of opportunities to look at themselves from a third perspective, and you're seeing it literally just being happy outside of your truck, like hugging your kids.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
I mean, honestly, it's pretty amazing. I mean, I couldn't be any more grateful for the life I have now. It's beyond it's beyond whatever, it's beyond anything I could have known to want.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess this is actually something I ponder quite often, right? Is because my life now is an example of moving towards something without understanding what I don't even know yet, right? And moving towards something, right, with, I guess, with the openness to things I haven't considered yet. Because like
Yeah.
I never saw myself as a homeowner.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily, see myself having more kids and all of that. So like the fact that I get another chance to raise these, two amazing little kids, like, is amazing. And honestly, I owe so much of it to my wife, because if I hadn't met her, then none of this would have been possible ultimately, because I just never would have made the decisions that I did that ultimately got me here. But ultimately, like, if I hadn't been through the shit that I had leading up to meeting her,
Yeah.
like, I guess I wouldn't have been qualified, right? So as crazy as that sounds, because she was way out of my league when I met her. I'm just being real.
Do you have a fun story of how you guys met?
I wish it were more fun, but we actually met on Tinder, right? But I was actually, I had lost my art studio, and so I was actually in the process of converting an old, kind of dilapidated horse stable into a place to live in, and this was, was quite an experience this whole summer. But I was taking a break one day and was swiping Tinder, and ended up finding her, and we connected there. And she didn't make it easy, but I was trying to ask her on a date, and ultimately she let me take her on a date. I had to borrow money to take her on that date, and then happened to be the chef was a good friend of mine, and I hadn't eaten at that restaurant yet, and like, it was just an amazing first date. It was just like, it was honestly, I really honestly kind of knew, like, right then, and I'd been single for a long time. I had a 14-year-old daughter at the time, and I kind of just knew right then that whatever I was embarking on was going to be something new.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, at the time, like, I had nothing, like literally nothing.
Yeah.
But she didn't make me feel like I wasn't enough. She didn't make me feel like I wasn't good enough. And I had some really cool art projects that I was working on. I had a big like permanent installation that was being worked on and or worked towards, and I had done some things, but I mean, I was like, she was a homeowner and I was like basically homeless. So it was, honestly, if she hadn't seen some kind of potential in me, then I wouldn't have had the opportunity to kind of do what I've done.
Yeah.
But I have to believe that if she didn't meet somebody who she clearly saw was working towards something,
Yeah.
with or without her almost, then that just wouldn't have happened.
We spoke while working out the idea of these first full circle moments, and I asked, why do you feel like these things happen to you often? And you told me it's because you're constantly trying to grow and trying to progress, and you keep moving forward.
Right. That more than anything, is like continuing to try to like find ways forward, right? Finding ways to continue, right? So I think a lot of people let themselves get caught up, and I've been victim to that myself at times when I'll catch myself ruminating or just kind of getting stuck, and like ultimately like we have to keep finding ways forward.
Yeah.
And that's the only ways that loops can close, or that,
Yeah.
that things can come full circle, or things can come to fruition, is if you keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Right. So that's just always been a very, very important thing to me. And as much as it hasn't always maybe seemed like it to some people, like embracing change has always been important to me because it's the only constant. Right.
The relationships that you built on the way, and also most likely relationships that you lost on the way, how do you determine which relationships are worth keeping, which ones leave on their own, which ones you shouldn't save, in the timeline of who you were versus who you are now, with who you lost and who stayed? How do you determine who to keep and who to chase and who to lose?
That's a really interesting question, man. And like, I honestly love that question because like you lose a lot of people when you make big decisions, and when you decide to make like changes in your life, you're going to lose friends.
Yeah.
And you're gonna make new friends, right? But at the same time, like I think people focus too much on who you lose and who you gain, because ultimately, like we were just talking about, loops like to close, right? So when you give shit enough time, like a lot of things can happen. They can come to fruition. They like when you give things time and you continue to move forward, there's just no telling where things will end up. That being said, like something my mother used to always say is that people are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, right? And something that I kind of added to that in like my mid 20s maybe is like that when you try to stretch a season into a lifetime, like it's the most painful thing ever.
Yeah.
So it's like you sometimes just have to understand that that person's in your life for just a short period of time, and that's okay. And
Yeah.
when either one of you tries to hold on to something that's not like growing anymore, then it creates a lot of pain for both people, and that's in romantic relationships or platonic ones,
Yeah.
But like ultimately, like I guess there's been very few like friendships that I've torched like over time, but the reality is that you move away from certain people and you move towards other people, and you're going to continue to do that. There's going to be a handful of people. You're lucky if you can count like 2 or 3 of them, right, that are going to be people that are your people, like period.
Yeah.
And even those people, like, I mean, like some of my closest people are people that we might not talk for months, but we know that the second we text each other or call each other, that we're right there,
Yeah.
but we're close enough that we don't have to be, on top of each other. But like, you have to be willing to move away from certain people, but still hold some kind of well regard or care for them, but they just might not necessarily have a space in your everyday anymore.
In that same conversation, being the person that you are today and how much you've learned, and I know through talking, you told me that you've been meditating, you meditate a lot and you practice that a lot. How do you determine what your next step is, not only as an artist, but as just yourself being? Like, how do you figure out what that next step is? Does it take more time to think about as if you were younger and you have all these different possibilities? Is it a lot more the connection strong, or do you still find yourself in that inner child feeling of doing whatever you want?
I think a little bit of the latter, but realistically, it's harder now because there's a lot more at stake now. But it's tough. I guess I knew that ultimately, like, I'd always want to move back towards creative work.
Yeah.
You know, like that's ultimately like I feel like that's much more connected to my purpose than anything else. I was very fortunate to have like a very good sales career and still have a good sales career, and I think that's taught me a lot in terms of like how to monetize art.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like that's really where my identity lies. And so actually, one thing we were kind of talking about earlier too is just like different stages in life. And what I'm kind of just coming to the realization is, so like at a certain point, like I had made the decision that art, like when I finally felt like I was okay with calling myself an artist, I'd made that decision that that I was going to create, right? And that was like my like really dense creative era where I was living in my studio and I was living, eating, and sleeping and breathing this shit.
Yeah.
You know, like every single fucking day, right? To a certain point where like I literally let everything else fall apart in my life pretty much so that I could focus on art. And at a certain point I made the decision. I literally made the decision, and this is what kind of brought me to this realization, is I made the decision that I made some, I might not have had a bunch of money, but I had made some real accomplishments,
Yeah.
right? Some real like lifetime accomplishments in terms of art. And I decided that home, at the age my daughter was, like specifically, I kept using the word home, that home is my next, like this is what I need to focus on. I need to
Yeah.
focus on like my daughter having a home and having a fucking place that I know that I can actually rest my head at,
Yeah.
right? That is like a solid home. And
Yeah.
and that's the word I kept using in myself, is home, right? And lo and behold, right, I ended up building this like tiny house out of a horse stable and meeting the love of my life, right? And literally building a brand new 7-figure home with,
Yeah.
you know, that like I literally could not have imagined ever owning,
Yeah.
right? So that's what I think about when I see my kids and we're in our yard. It's just like there's still a lot of holy fuck, like like,
Yeah. Just a realization that
like seriously,
you're doing everything you
I'm
set out to
actually
do.
here, right?
Yeah.
You know, well, more than what I set out to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Way more than what I set out to do.
And do you feel like a big part of that more of what you set out comes from not necessarily materializing the future?
So I mean, you have to, in order, like you have to have some kind of vision in mind,
Yeah.
right? Like you have to at least have the basis of like I knew I wanted home,
Yeah.
right? I thought home was going to be a tiny house that I was building out of a horse stable.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know that it was going to be like a 3,500 square foot house on 2 acres of land. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, just kind of like when I had really decided that I was going to create, like I didn't necessarily know that I was going to do some of the things that I did.
Yeah.
I made the decision to move that direction, and that created the reality of the possibilities that happened. Which is why, so now the current stage of life that I'm finding myself at is legacy.
Yeah.
And that's truly how I feel. And like, so like if it was home the last time, like I'm so focused on the concept of legacy at this point. And I guess maybe that's because of the people I've lost in the last few years, which were some of the most important people in my life. You know, to the point where even like somebody asked me like last year at one point, they're like, well, dude, like who do you have to go to now at this
Yeah.
point? And I guess like I have a couple close friends, right? But like realistically, like I don't have like a big brother figure anymore.
Yeah.
That like was my person to kind of lean on for those kinds of things. So at the same time, like I've got to assume that responsibility, but it also makes me recognize my mortality a little differently,
Yeah.
right? Like it's something I think we don't think about enough, right? And I'm not trying to be dark,
No,
But it's just
it's
the reality is that like we are here for a limited time.
yeah,
You know, as I like approach my mid 40s, like time is becoming more real than ever before.
yeah, yeah,
Right. Watching my oldest daughter like be a college graduate and like
yeah,
out on her own now, and now I've got a 1 and 3 year old. So like I've just got a different perspective of time,
yeah,
you know. So like really wanting to focus on that, and I feel like having like I've done the home part now, like I've done that,
yeah,
you know, not that I can't lose it, right, but I've done that. So now like the idea is to maintain that, right, and allow myself to focus on like what I think is really going to matter, right, like on, you know, layered on top of that, like moving forward
yeah,
in terms of legacy, right? Because I think it's important for us to pass things on that we've learned,
yeah,
right? Because for some people that's the only way they're going to learn them. Like I didn't go to school, I didn't graduate from any kind of like high school or college, so like I would not have learned things unless certain people have taken the time to teach them to me. So like that's a big focus of mine, and even if it's only being the example, you know.
wow. And I think the biggest thing, like the takeaway that I get is, you know, as an artist and as someone who understands the world of art, I don't think it's a lot of artists can say that they ultimately end up in the same in the position you are. Like again, from a horse stable to the home that you're in. Like you're as an artist, as still carrying that identity throughout the years, that must have changed, like the idea of wow, I didn't think I'd get here in general. Like
Sure. And at the same time, if I'm totally honest, like it took a lot of like I had to step back in many ways as the quote unquote artist.
exactly.
And honestly, I had to kind of defend it a little bit,
Yeah.
and protect it a little bit, because I had to make sure that that as I moved up in the company that I'm in too, that I'm an artist. Like this is who I am.
Who you are.
Like I love this job. I'm good at this job, but I'm an artist. Like, but
Yeah.
at least now I have something that can really support, you know, me to truly continue that. Because when I did it before, like, it was just foolish. I was a little bit too young. I had some financial backing, but I certainly was not in a financial position to support myself and try to do the things that I did. Although I wouldn't change anything, you know, at this point.
So, with that being said, right, like, it feels like now you're at a time where you want, not ultimately to reclaim, because you've always been, but now you're 100% that artist. Like, you're
Well,
stepping into that identity a lot more,
I
no?
feel like there's a little bit of reclaiming that it feels like, because essentially, like, I mean, I had been going so hard in that direction, like for me to kind of scale back, and was kind of a big deal. But what I realized is, and a lot of creatives understand this concept, is I had really put too much strain on my like creative muscle, right? And I was really like, honestly, I had too much of the concept of earning from it,
Yeah,
right? And which put far too much strain on doing the work,
yeah,
right? Because I had the pressure of having to. This is how I had to eat,
Yeah.
right? So like, and I wasn't educated, didn't have a degree, wasn't doing any of that. I was literally, you know, self-trained. I don't like the term self-taught, but self-trained, right?
yeah,
And like lots of pressure, right? So like having, like swallowing my pride to the extent, also swallowing my pride to the extent that I took a day job after meeting my wife. I
it's tough.
had to do something, right? I borrowed money for our first date. I had to pay the dude back, right? And luckily, the chef that night, because he was a friend of mine, gave me a big discount. So it was crazy because I could fill my tank the next day. Yeah,
Thank you, buddy.
like like by taking a day job, because I just wasn't gonna be that dude that like didn't have the money for my lady when she needed it, or like, you know, didn't have money to take her someplace or some shit. Like, like got a day job, and so I had to say no to so many art projects, right? as you've started to learn too, like you have people reaching out all over the place. I had to say no all the time. Whereas
Yeah.
before it was always yes, yes, just pay me something and
Yeah.
I'll do some work. And so now I'm saying no to everybody. Fast forward a year, and I had my biggest art sale ever, where somebody had literally like bought 3 pieces for 5 figures,
Yeah.
you know, and like I had never seen that money. It was like 20 G's that I'd never seen that much at that one time before,
Yeah.
you know, and that literally changed everything. So like the idea, like truly, is to just like move that direction. Like when you make that decision, just like I said, like all the things that transpired in the middle, like I made the decision that home was what I wanted to focus on.
Yeah.
I didn't know that meant I was gonna get married and all this shit. You know what I mean? Have new
Yeah.
kids and everything. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But the life that I have now is something that is beyond what I could have even knew that I wanted. You know? I think I might have missed your initial question there.
I guess it's more towards leaning into now that all this home stuff is solidified and it feels a little bit more
well,
solidified.
yeah. So it really did. Like, I mean, like it. I remember what I was gonna say. Like it weighed on me quite a bit. Like, am I a sellout? Like, am I like, is this what I was really supposed to do? Like, was I almost there? You know, all those questions, right? But like, the truth is, I literally like the only way that like how can I say this? Like our mind will play tricks on us, right? At certain times, but ultimately, like we decide who we are,
Yeah.
right? Ultimately, like we ourselves are the observer, right? But we decide what our external is going to be and who we're going to identify as, which like it's so counterintuitive because we're always looking for that external validation, right? But like so I had to decide I was an artist in the first place, and it took me a long time to be secure with that. But then, like having to get a day job and not make a priority definitely affected like how I saw myself as an artist as well.
Yeah.
It made me feel like I still was, you know, if I could still claim it, if I was still relevant. We all have those questions, you know. And kind of like we talked about connections, like some of those connections that are people that are like I didn't have a falling out with, I didn't remove them from my life, but like when you spend a certain amount of time not working, when other people continue to work, like you can't just decide to, you know, oh hey, I'm back.
Yeah.
So like, it's interesting now. That being said, like I have a different understanding and a different perspective on what I even want to gain from it myself. You know, it's just a matter of being able to contribute,
Yeah.
honestly.
How are we doing on time?
Let me see.
I know you have more responsibility.
Yeah.
We're good?
We're doing okay. We should probably wrap up pretty soon, but yeah, we're doing okay. Am I
cool.
being too wordy?
No. I honestly, I love it. I love it. The more I get to kind of think about, I guess, everything that you're doing, and again, I've had the privilege, and I always have the privilege of getting to know people
Yeah,
before
it's a great thing.
the like sitting down and talking and figuring out who they are. I had the privilege of knowing you a lot more, and just the person from what I saw from stepping into the timeline in your life from the moment to like now, and it's probably been like 2-3 weeks, but it's amazing how much somebody's knowledge could translate into even accidental wisdom for somebody else, right? Even if it's not in your intent to full on inspire. And I guess that's the whole personality of an artist sometimes. Like it's motivating in ways that you probably don't even realize, you know? It'd be different if you decided to go out and be a life coach and you wasn't coaching life. Like, but as an artist, you kind of find yourself accidentally paving ways or motivating others or inspiring others. And I could say from where I'm standing in the perspective of knowing you, I'm like, wow, I'm inspired to be more of an artist than I am now because of where he is, and it's possible.
I think people look for inspiration.
Yeah.
Right? People want inspiration. They need it. So like you just kind of have to give them an excuse to be
Yeah.
inspired.
Yeah.
right? Like truly. So like just by doing an act is going to inspire somebody.
Yeah.
How many people do you think Mason's going to inspire?
I know.
How many people has he inspired,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When you see someone doing something, it's inspiring,
Yeah.
right?
And I mean, even you said it. You were, for the longest time ever, you had like a bigger figure that you looked up to, and then it came to a moment where, you know, you become that person, and
Yeah.
and you outsource obviously the Basquiat's, the artists that you look up to and get inspired from, but for the longest time ever, like if you had an older sister, older brother, older mentor, and then you become that
Well,
person.
And I guess part of that understanding that I've kind of had to come to terms with too is as like some of these people have passed, and some of these were people that I like really looked up to, and like how do I want to say it? Like we have a habit of like when we really look up to or revere someone, like we can sometimes like take away their more human traits,
Yeah.
right? And so like recognizing like nothing will make you recognize humanity more than death will, right? But so like and disease, right, or any kind of disability. So when you see somebody start to go through these things and really start to age, like it again, it puts your mortality on display and kind of reminds you as well that we're all just fucking people, man. Like honestly, at the end of the day, right? Like we're all made out of the same things,
Yeah.
right? And so what we're able to do is literally just based on what we decide to do, right?
Yeah.
So like not having some of these people to lean on myself anymore, like part of that is a little bit freeing, understanding that like, hey man, like he was just a dude, like who like, you know, liked having conversations with me, and we were good friends for many years, and he definitely like was that older brother for me, but for him like he didn't see himself the way that I saw him.
Yeah.
Like he knew his flaws. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like, so it's funny. It's like there's something I heard once where it's like, don't look up to people and don't look down at people. It's like when you look up to people, you exaggerate their positive flaws, and you look down on people, you exaggerate their negative flaws. Like so, don't look up or down. Like just look. Like look, pay attention, right? But like, and be inspired by those things. Whether it's inspired to do good things by saying their negative things, or inspired to do good things by saying the good things that somebody else is doing. But like, I was lucky to have the people that I had, and fortunate to be able to like see their humanity in that way,
Yeah.
which just makes me, it kind of bringing it back to myself makes me understand that like I don't have to be like some version of perfect that I think that I need to be, because he wasn't either,
Yeah.
and no mentor that anybody's ever had is, right? So like you don't have to be perfect to do that, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of made that close that loop for me,
Yeah.
right? And giving myself permission, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
I guess the last question I'll leave you with is, does that help giving people flowers while they're still here?
It's important. It's important. But realistically, it's important. Like you have to show gratitude and show appreciation. But realistically, because I mean, I used to tell this person all the time too, like how important they were to me, and I could tell like would kind of make him uncomfortable. And towards like the end of his life, he would kind of do the same to me, and like it was like, yeah, all right, thanks, man. Like you know, it's just like so it's tough. It's important to do that and let people know, right? But there are rare times when it's really going to sink in the way that you want it to sink in. You know, the best way to give someone flowers is through action, right? Like, cause you can tell them shit all fucking day long, you know. Like the best way to give someone flowers is through actually doing it, right?
Like giving them the actual flowers.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That's important.
Like so, I feel like I keep talking about death and mortality, but like
No,
like,
it all connects.
right. But like when these people that are important to you like go, it's like if they really had a positive impact on you, like let them have that positive impact. You know, recognize their humanity, understand that you're human as well.
Yeah.
Like, so like you waiting to be perfect to think that you need to be before you can, you know, help others improve their lives, because there's so many people who have no fucking clue what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So many.
I
of
don't
them.
think any of us know
Yeah,
what
no,
we're
no,
doing.
but well, and that's the truth and the beauty of it is nobody really does.
Yeah.
Like nobody's got it figured out, and that's something that you learn more and more as you get older. That it's just knowing how to figure it out in the first place. So
Yeah.
just do what you can to at least, you know, pay whatever you can forward. You know,
Yeah.
it's very important.
Honestly, no, I think you're right. I think about that a lot, especially as you step into like the identity and understanding that you are an artist. And the minute you become faced with that reality, you start holding value to yourself, and then you also start acknowledging where your value sticks in certain settings, with certain people, with certain places. You know, your value may not stick anymore at the club.
Yeah.
You know, your value may stick more at your studio. And
Right. Yeah.
as I get the luxury of continuing this conversation with you later on, they have the luxury of maybe talking to you at the gym or seeing you around. I don't know if
sure.
you're a talker. He's not a talker at the gym, but I think
So I got my headphones in, you know.
don't bother him.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people would have the privilege of getting to know more about you and getting to know you as a person. I had a good, I hope you enjoyed the conversation,
Oh,
obviously.
of course, always.
We always have a great conversation, but I'm
Yeah.
actually glad we got to record it. I feel like for the longest time ever, I have cool conversations with people, and I don't get to record it or show it to people, you know, how
That's important too, though.
how
Yeah.
dope the conversations
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
But I do thank you
Likewise.
for not only deciding to be part of this new season that nobody knows about yet, but just everything, man. Thank you. I
Likewise.
hope it was good. I enjoyed the workout. I hope the workout was good.
Yeah.
And yeah, man. Thank you for
Yes,
being
sir.
episode 2.
Yeah. Excited to see it.
Yeah, dude. How you feeling?
Good.
Good?
Yeah, ready to go.
I know. How long
yeah,
has it been?
yeah.
Dude, we were recording for 43 minutes.